Yes, welcome to Real Talk with Ghost and Big G. I am your host, Ghost. Again, Big G is out of here this week. So as always, I always bring in a special guest to take his place. I got a good one for you guys this week. He's a rapper. He's an entrepreneur. The Mr. This is why I'm hot man myself. M.I.M.S is in the building, taking over Big G's spot. What's up, my man? How are you?
What's good? What's good, man? I can't complain, man. I mean, we all on lockdown right now, but honestly, I'm blessed to be here, man. So I'm happy.
Good to hear. Good to hear, man. I appreciate you doing this. And I would be remiss in first saying, shout out to Kevin and Jason Brown for connecting the dots on this. So
absolutely. Shout out to the brothers.
Exactly. Sure. Appreciate them doing this and connecting the dots there. So man, I appreciate you jumping on. Just want to get right into it because when I have these interviews, morally, not just for my listeners, but I like to learn myself and get insight, because at one point in time, I thought I could be a rapper. I thought
okay.
I thought I can do it. It didn't pan out for me. I'm happy where things has landed, but I got you on here, so I want to get a little bit inside your head about the music game.
Got you.
Well, more importantly, I want to talk to you a little bit about the entrepreneurial side that you've been working on. That's kind of my passion. So I thought I would talk a little bit about both. So let's start from the music part. You had probably one of the biggest global hit smashes in 2007.
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, did you always want to be a rapper? Was tell me a little bit how that happened.
No, believe it or not, it's weird because I had moved from Washington Heights, New York, like uptown, and when I was 16, 17 years old, like in the middle of 16, 17, I moved to Long Island. Mm-hmm. And when I lived in the Heights, I didn't pursue being a rapper. I pursued more or less like being a producer. Like I wanted to be the Manny Fresh.
Oh yeah.
Of the group, the person that just put rappers together, got them in the booth, let them spit. So it wasn't actually really until I got to Westbury, to Long Island, where I remember I did like a small demo. Like when you want to do music, you go to somebody's house who's got a recorder or a multi-track recorder. And I remember them recording me, and then my boy was like, "Yo, man, you actually got some skills. Like you should definitely continue to do it." So, speaking of like Kevin Brown, oddly enough, I remember back in the day, we used to kind of not, I wouldn't say fantasize, but we created this rap group that we had, and it was actually me, him, and a few other people from around the way, but. That's kind of how I got.
I can't picture Kevin rapping. I'm sorry. I can't. I got to hear some old demos or something.
Nah, he might have some in the archives. So I'll ask him. But I mean, we took it seriously. We went to Nassau Community. So shout out to anyone who's from Long Island. Y'all know Nassau Community is like the 13th grade. So,
everybody's passed there at one point.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So while we were in Nassau, we kind of said, yo, let's just give it a shot. Let's do a demo for fun and let's get it around. So, I mean, I think for me, I never aspired to be a rapper. I was always just musically inclined. I understood production. I understood engineering. And it just so happens that because I had really little to nobody to kind of when I would make production, it was not a lot of people rapping on my side. I would be the only person writing and rapping to my own music. And eventually, a few people just kept saying, look, man, focus on rapping. You got something with it. So I think when I was around 19, 20 is when I decided okay, I don't want to be the jack of all trades, king of none. I'm going to focus just on the rapping, and then I'll bring it back to production when the time comes. But,
right.
And 5 years, I think 4 or 5 years was that starving artist period. It doesn't sound like a long time, but 4 or 5 years is a long time.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a long time. It doesn't sound like
long. But I mean, this is so once again, I mean, just to paint the picture for those out there that's aspiring to be a musician. 4 or 5 years is great when you got a job and you bring in a 9 to 5. And I quit working. I think I was 20 years old. I was like, nah, I'm never going to work again. I'm just going to pursue the music. So my stomach was touching my back at a point in time. And, and I mean, fortunate for me, I kept at it and it worked out. But, it was a struggle, man, in the beginning. And then,
Right.
and when the record, I had a few records I put out prior to This Is Why I'm Hot that did some stuff like nationally. And it allowed me to go on the road. My first tour was with an artist named Method Man. So I'm sure y'all know who Method Man is.
Exactly.
I got to go on a national tour with him, opening up for him in a bunch of different cities around the country. And that's when I kind of started to meet people at radio and
right.
Just extend that. So by the time I would put This Is Why I'm Hot out, I already built so many different relationships across the country
right.
that it just kind of helped cultivate the record itself.
Yeah, because I remember when that song dropped. That was what 07, right?
Yeah, end of 06, beginning of 07.
07.
Yeah,
Flex dropped that bomb on that song like 100 times on that song. It was a monster record. And
Flex was tough on me in the beginning too, but he definitely showed love. So he was definitely tough, but right. I had to, but he definitely showed love for sure.
Yeah, it came around, and as an artist, like you said, you get that following. How different would you think it would have been if social media was around at that time? Would that have cut the grind down, you think?
Oh, because MySpace had just became like something, right? Like Facebook was the app, was the platform for like people who were in school, like the college kids.
Yeah.
And then MySpace. I mean, we had like I think Black Planet before that.
Yeah.
We had a couple of things that we would go on, but MySpace.
Damn, it sounded like that was so long ago. That wasn't even that long ago.
Bro, I'm yeah, exactly. I don't even want to say my age, but I'm about to hit 40 soon.
Yeah.
So it's definitely it's a long time ago, I guess. But yeah, so MySpace came around and they had this thing called MySpace Music where you would convert your account from a normal MySpace account to a music account.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, that was like the first
social media
platform that gave artists a spotlight, a chance.
Would that be like the SoundCloud of today? Similar?
Yeah, pretty much. SoundCloud, it basically SoundCloud meets Facebook or meets Instagram, because that's what MySpace was. You had a couple of pictures you could throw up, but for the most part, you could throw your music up. And so while I was building with the record, and I started off in Florida, and then I brought it up the coast, the East Coast, eventually kind of getting into like New York, Connecticut, Boston, doing the West Coast thing, and so when MySpace, with MySpace, what it did for me was it allowed people who didn't know who I was, or like, because I was still independent as an artist. So if they didn't know who I was, they would go on there and look it up, and they see, okay, man, this is this M.I.M.S guy. So they were able to kind of search. That was like the first way to search for me as an artist. And then lo and behold, man, I was like, if you remember MySpace, like I at one point in time, I was the top 8, like one of the top 8 people. When you have your friends list, I was friends with Tom, like I was on his list. So that kind of helped. So when you talk about social media, I feel like that was, I mean, I almost kind of feel like I ushered in like an era, and being able to utilize like social media to help cultivate and build my career.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a great tool. Obviously, I said you see so many artists. Obviously, you have to use social media. What was it like? So where do you remember where you were when that song, you first heard it? Like, when it took off the way it did. Tell me what that was like when you first, because to me, I would have bugged out.
Yeah, you know what? I do have a memory, because I worked the hell out of that record in the beginning. So there was like, so basically, like I said, we released the record in May, I think, of 2006. We released it. It caught on in like, I want to say in Florida, it caught on around July, August. And then the rest of the world started to pick up on it around September, October. And then by March of 2007, it was the number 1 record in the country, on both rhythmic and the urban platform. So I think for me, the moment that I was like, wow, was I was in New York. I was just about, I was either in New York or LA. I don't remember, but I was just about to, we were just talking about releasing the album. The album's going to be coming out, I think, in the end of March. and or beginning of March, I'm not even sure, but someone basically from the label had made a plaque for me. So when you come from nothing, you're like, oh, you see this plaque.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wish I had it. I don't know if it's in here, but and they presented to me. I think I was like eating at Nobu in LA. Like I had a celebratory dinner, and they presented the plaque to me. And they was like, yo, you realize you have the #1 record in the country right now. And I kind of had to take a minute and stop and be like, yo, this is surreal. And I got people calling me like, yo, your record's on every single day. I'm tired of hearing it. And that was like a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, for like 8 months, I didn't even realize it. And then that one day it hit me. I'm like, yo, I really have like the biggest record in the country right now, which is crazy.
It's crazy.
So,
and I always ask artists this as well. Like when you come in from a producer background, when you made the song, did you know it was a hit? Because some artists I speak to, they say, we knew it was a hit. Some was like, you know, I had 100 other songs that was better than that.
Yeah.
But that was the one that took off. Was that?
I'm that one. I'm the artist that says I had 100 other songs that were better, but that was the one that took off. I'm gonna tell you why I think the universe was working then, because I tell this story all the time, and I never change it because it's the truth. I was in Florida, and I had a lot of relationships at radio in Florida, starting with West Palm, Fort Myers, Orlando, and then Tampa. Tampa was such a huge market for me, and I'm gonna tell you why. I went to Tampa. I had this record called "I Did You Wrong," and it was like a sped up sample, Kanye West type, sped up sample vibe. And New York, I mean, that's my vibe. So I remember taking it to a music director, a friend of mine. Her name was Beata, and she kept it funky with me. She was like, "Look, this won't work on my station." And that night, before I had gone to drive, I was in Miami, and before I took the drive to Tampa, the night before, I took a CD out of the studio because the producer of the record, DJ Blackout, who's also a Long Island native, he was like, "Yo, I finished the mix on this record. Check it out on your way up to Tampa." And I played it. I was like, "Yo, I like it. It's cool." And luckily, I had it in my back pocket that day because she was like, "Yo, I can't put this other record on air. It's not gonna work on my station."
Right.
And I pulled it out of my back pocket. I said, "Well, how about this? Like, can this, what can this do?" And she listened to it. She said, "This is more to speed. Let me play it for my mixers." It was like a Friday, and that Monday she called me and was like, "Yo, we're putting the record in rotation."
Wow.
And that's like unheard of. Like, not even. Let's the mixers, play around with it, see if the people like it. Every mixer there was like, "Yo, yes, yes, yes." So, I always say shout out to Tampa, because Tampa was that market that elevated me, man. So, I got nothing but love for that market.
Definitely. Now, what made you think? Because I always hear, like, everyone obviously wants to pop in there where they're from first, and you hear artists sometimes they said, I took off here. What made you think it was? Why Tampa? You think?
I think for me at the time, with how music was, with the direction of music in New York, I feel like it was so oversaturated that even the A&Rs couldn't tell the difference between what they wanted to work with. And I mean, the music industry, and it still is to this day, it became, and I hate this part of it, right? It became, if you're not a friend of a friend or my man's, or I can't rock with you. There's always a reason why someone has to rock with you.
Right.
And I want people to know, like, when I did it, I didn't have any cosigns. Like, I didn't have any features that said, "Yo, cosign this dude." It was no big, Jay-Z didn't come out and say, "Yo, I vouch for him."
Right.
So I really, like, after getting told no a million times, I really said, "You know what? I'll be back. Let me see what I could do out of town. And if I do make a picture out of town, when I come back, just support it." One of the first DJs, rest in peace, to support my record in New York was a DJ by the name of Carl Blaze. And with no bias. Like, he heard the record, because Carl was another one of the straight shooters that would be like, I brought records to him in the past. "Nah, this ain't it, bro. Go back to the drawing board." And he supported it, and it just so happened that he had a position at Power. So as we and I had a team, working and doing what they had to do. But as we start to, like, get one DJ to vouch and another to vouch, you start to kind of see this cascading effect. All the dominoes fall in the right direction. And then New York supports LA, which is one of my biggest markets, supports Florida, Atlanta.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the world just like, yo, look, we got to get on it. We got no choice.
And that's what's so surprising to me as a person on the outside looking in, is that I'm thinking, if my record is hot, that's all it is to it. And it seems like there's always something else additional, whether it's relationships, timing, it's always other factors that come into play when it comes to music. So you're going to get a whole lot of no's because it may not just be because of the actual product itself. It could be other factors.
Yeah. And I think that's what I like. Anybody, like I said, anyone who's an aspiring artist out there that wants to understand, often it's not about your music. Often it's about being in the right place at the right time with the right people. And I say that, and I mean that wholeheartedly. Yeah, I got 1,000 records in the vault that people would be like, yo, you should release that. You should have put that out. That would be huge. But what they don't realize is that you got to win one person over at a time in this business. And then they're only as good as the listeners, because once the listeners get a hold of it, it's like, okay, cool. Well, we don't like that record. Let's take it off air because the listeners don't like it. So everything has to align. And I think, This Is Why I'm Hot was just one of those records where radio station supported, DJ support, radio station support, and then the listeners was like, yo, we love it. This is what we want to wake up and hear every morning. So, but yeah, very, very seldom do you get music that just takes off because it's hot.
Because it's hot.
Yeah, I don't see that happening with anyone. It's always a story behind it.
It's always a story.
That's why it took off.
Now you're seeing, I know, like today you see a lot of records broke in clubs. Like how do they know what the listeners want? Because like if I listen to the radio, I don't call up requesting songs. So how do they determine what's good or what makes that playlist in the radio station?
So back in the day, it used to be something called call out. So basically it would be how many times someone would call a radio station to request a record. If you were like top 10 in requests, then they would have to put your record top 10 in spins. They would have to give you the appropriate amount of spins for how much people are requesting it. And then they came up with this system called people meter. So basically what it would be is it would be people who had these like beeper like devices, and I don't know if the world even knows this. I'm hoping I could say it, but
and I was like, you dropping some knowledge there.
And they would have these beeper like devices attached to them, and they would drive around, and where people would have their windows down and you're listening to the radio. When if someone played a song and they would tune away, these meters would read when people weren't listening or when they were tuning off the station. That would be how they would determine whether or not the record is working, because the whole goal of a radio station is their business. So they want listeners to listen, because the more listeners they have listening, the more money they can get from the sponsors. The more money they can get from the sponsors, so the whole goal with radio is and was to keep listeners tuned in. So if you think about it, right, and I guess, like I said, just some knowledge. If to me, I feel like if that's why now you see interviews got shortened on radio, so they know, because people what they would say is that every time someone talked for a certain amount of time, people would just tune out.
Right.
So that's why after a while they stopped actually doing interviews at radio stations.
Interesting.
So hence, obviously, how the podcast is popular. So that's why we're here now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, if I guess if you were to look back, is there anything you would have done differently? Because obviously, you went through the grind. You had a top record. Is there anything you would have done differently?
I guess there's a lot, but I think for me, I think, and this is like I don't know if the outcome would have been the same, but I would have definitely tried to remain independent as long as I could before I decided to do a deal with a major label. That would have probably, to me, that would have probably been my, my goal. But then again, I guess it's a double-edged sword, because I don't know how big I would have gotten had I not done that move. But I think that was also like a gift and a curse.
Right. Now, like I said, let's say if I'm a new artist, what is I guess, quote, considered a good deal for an artist if he was to go to a major label? Like, cause like I always hear that, people never know. They always say their first deal is trash, or they don't know if they're getting ripped off. Like, what's considered a good deal?
You know what? I say a good deal, to me, the parameters of a good deal would mean that you can walk away if you're unhappy with any scenario that someone else is presenting. That would mean that you would have to have total creative control. And I would also, and transparency as to where your money is being spent. I think that that's the better deal. So, ironically, when I signed, I never signed as an artist. So I signed, I had a true partnership with my record label. The problem with my deal wasn't necessarily just about the creative control side. It was more about who collected the money, and then when it was time to pay out. And I think that that's one part that I realized in business, that you cannot, you can't give the machine that much control.
And you're young too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I gave the machine way too much control, and I think that if I had to change it, that's the one thing I would go back over and redo.
Okay, so because to me, I always look at a record deal. So just from my understanding, like I said, I appreciate you dropping this knowledge. So if I get signed, basically I would get an advance, right? So I would get a ton of money for signing, and then they would recuperate the money based on my performance. So for my studio time, tours, and all that stuff, I would have to pay that money back. Is that how it works?
Yeah, pretty much. But the worst part about it is this, right? So it gets a little bit more tricky than that, right? So yes, you recoup pretty much everything they spent out, but there's also a rate attached to that recoupment. So it's almost like if you borrow $100,000 from the bank, and the bank says, let's say you borrow the money for a business, right?
Right.
But the bank says, we want our 100,000 back, but we also own 40% of your business. So what happens now is you have to recoup 100,000 minus the 40% that they're taking as soon as you make $1.
Yeah,
so think about
that's a Kevin O'Leary Shark Tank deal.
Pretty much. So that's what every deal in the music industry is pretty much designed to be that way. So the record label makes their money back.
Yep.
Damn near halfway through collecting money. And then they collect your money for you. So here's the other trick. All right. I'm the bank. You open a business, your business does well. Your money goes directly from the consumer to the bank. And now the bank comes back and says, yo, here's your, you made $500,000. Here's 20 grand. And you're like, wait a minute. There's, we have a deal. Where's the other, $300,000 that you owe me? Well, they say, well, what $300,000? So what do you have to do at that point in time?
Wait, say that one more time. So what happens to the 300,000?
So you don't get the 300. They gave you, they owe you 300, but they gave you 20,000. So the oldest trick in the book is that now, because you only have $20,000, in order to go chase your 300, you got to take them to court. Guess how much going to court is going to cost you?
Oh, wow.
$200,000.
Right.
So
they can drown you out.
Exactly. They will drag you out until you're exhausted. And I think that's, to me, that is I understand corporate greed.
Yeah.
To a major extent now that I've been in the music industry.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I said I know it's a tough business. Was there any point in time where you said, you know what, the hell with this? I'm done.
First album.
Really?
First album. I said to the label, I said, yo, I don't want to do this no more. This was 2008 going into 2009. I actually argued with the label because I had a 5-album deal at the time. So my first album, they advanced me. It was probably like an $800 and something thousand advance. Second album was 1.2 million. I was willing to walk away. Like, yo, I don't even want it. Just let me go, because I knew at the time that I had generated close to $20 million in 2007 for the label, and the money they gave me as a result of it was peanuts.
Yeah,
I'm like, yo, I can go elsewhere and make my money. Just let me go. If you guys made your money, that's fine. You got me. Okay, cool. Haha, you got me. Let me go so I could make money somewhere else. And at the time they refused to do it.
Right.
And my head wasn't in it. Second album, I think it was a great experience for me, and I loved the album itself, the project, and building it. But as far as the energy that I had to actually promote it, it wasn't there.
Yeah, because you got that in the back of your head. I mean, I'm
gonna make another $10 million for the label, and then what? Hit me with another $30,000 check or something. So
wow, yes, yeah. I say you don't hear about the ins and outs of this stuff. You just, it's tough business, tough business. Before we move on to the other side, question I want to ask you, as far as, I guess, for any upcoming artists now, I guess what's maybe one or two things you would tell them out of the gate they would have to do?
Well, first thing is I'm going to say create an entity, right? So a lot of artists, they're artists, but they don't realize that there's a difference between being an artist and being in the music business.
Okay.
So the first approach is to create an entity, a business, and understand the structure of what a business means. Meaning, you're an artist. Your profession is to rap or sing or whatever the case is, create music. So what does your profession need as an investment? You have to invest in yourself, so you got to buy clothes, you got to dress the part, you got to invest in your craft, you got to have studio time, a good studio to record. I see your background image, so you understand.
I'm a fake producer.
Well, listen, there's a lot of those out there, so it's all good. And then so I say, once you understand how to approach it like a business, then you start to understand that the music is, and a lot of people will say this, it's just 10% of, like, if you're in the music business, music is 10% of it. Everything, 90% of it is everything else. It's all the ancillary stuff that comes with it. And if you're built for that, then you continue the journey. If not, then I would say just make music in your basement. Don't even worry about being in the music industry.
Right. So what I take from that is that if you're building it like that, you got to have some sort of mindset that you got to have some sort of exit strategy.
There you go.
Right. If you build in the business like that, because I would think, hey, I'm an artist. I'm gonna rap or sing until I die.
Forever.
But
that's people. Yeah, exactly.
And that's not the case. So if you have that mindset, okay, I'm gonna do this 10 years, or I'm building my brand to move on to the next stage, that's how you make it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate that knowledge there. I said, I feel like I should go out, maybe start a little something myself at my old age.
Trust me, there's a space for it right now.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, but it's so funny. Like, no, I'm older, so I'm used to seeing music done or performed a certain way. But like I said, I understand the grind, but it just seems like some people, they don't see the end game for it. And it's,
what I'll say? I'll say this. Before, and I guess, like you say, like the early 90s, end of the 80s into the early 90s, even into the early 2000s, that people used to shun anyone who did music at an older age in hip hop.
Right.
No other genres.
No other.
Like if you were in rock, you could be 90 years old, you'd be touring, you could be putting out albums, you're the Rolling Stones, any of these groups out there that are still performing and making money. And I think what that is that was, and I'll say this, like, as a Black man on the Black community, what we're afraid of is someone else's success. So we're afraid that someone else will succeed. So we almost always put our doubts and our fears in someone else by saying, man, you should rap, you're too old. But the reality is, why not? Because the truth is that there are people just as old as you that want to hear what you got to say, and they're not trying to hear what the young 17, 18. I don't even understand what these young 17-year-olds rap about. So for me, that's popping some Biggie, Nas, Jay-Z, I'm good.
Right. Yeah. It's funny because I had that conversation with someone that's like, it's the only genre of music where, I mean, I think you may see a little bit of them still working now because of, but they're not embraced, like you said, like a Rolling Stones or another genre of music, which isn't right. So you gave me hope.
Yeah, so go make that album, man.
We'll do a feature together.
For sure, let's do it. Me, you, Jason Brown, and Kevin. We all. I got it.
I'll think of a name for us. I'll get back to you. So then you obviously you had success as a rapper, and now you're moving on to the entrepreneur. And I shouldn't even say entrepreneur, because to me I think they're kind of one and the same. It's basically, especially what you're telling me and what you told me. What has that been like now since you've kind of transitioned into the tech world?
Yeah. So the first thing was coming out of music. You know, I've done well for myself at this point. You know, I'm you know, and this is probably like, I'm taking circa 2012, 2011. I just told you, you know, after 2008, I didn't want to do the music thing, but I still toured. I still obviously went around the world. I loved the energy of what the world brought. I got to see some great places. Coming out of that now, you know, and being able to kind of put the word retired out there as like a 30-year-old, I'm like, yo, okay, I could retire, but what's next? Like, what's next for me as a person? And what I realized is that I do still have a love for music. So it's not always about having to be a musician. Sometimes it's really just about giving back to the culture. And I always had a love for technology. And I would always come up with these ideas to kind of better enhance, whether it be just tech or music, anything. And I remember 2012, I was sitting on a plane with one of my business partners, and I said, yo, I got this idea I want to put out. I want to do an app. And he thought the idea was genius. So he was like, yo, let's make it happen. And we were actually flying to San Francisco. And I remember I'm like, yo, okay, cool. So let's call some of these VCs up. Let's see if we can get in the doors. You know, I'm a pretty prominent rapper at the time. You know, I'm pretty well known. So let's go get some doors open. And we must have called at least, you know, a few different investment firms, and no one was, you know, no one wanted to actually open the doors.
And what year is this now? This is what year?
2012.
2012. Okay.
It's not that long ago.
No, not that long ago.
And what I realized at that time, I'm like, yo, okay, cool. I'm good enough as a rapper to sit inside when you're launching a company. I'm good enough for you to sit with me and tell me, because I remember when Twitter came out, it was myself, Little Mama, and Chris Brown. We were at the VMAs. They gave us these phones, and they were like, yo, they got this new application called Twitter. You know, it's where you like type about what is current events. So I remember, and still to this day, if you ever look it up, that they gave me a handle, M.I.M.S at the VMAs or something like that. And,
okay.
And then in my mind, I'm like, I'm good enough to sit when you want to build a company. How much is Twitter worth now? Billions?
You know? Right.
But I'm not good enough to open the doors if I got an idea, you know, to build some technology. So I said, nah, this can't be. I said, yo, you know, they're not trying to let us in. That's how I took it.
Yeah.
Like they don't want us in, you know?
Yeah,
so,
right.
So I started my pursuit. And in my pursuit, I had to kind of, you know, take a step back, forget about who I was as a musician, and really just relearn a whole brand new industry.
Wow.
And that was technology. And I mean, when I say relearn, meaning I would go to tech conventions like TechCrunch or different things, and I would be out there handing out flyers or like for ideas, like for a company I was building. So and I had to relearn it. And you know, 3 or 4 years, 5 years into like doing technology, we've been able to create and break down some really great barriers as a company, as a minority owned company. And you know, I'm here now. This is where my life has been now on the tech side, and it's been amazing.
Yeah. Now, did you have any type of, because obviously when you started the rap career, you kind of did it on your own. The tech, you kind of did it on your own. Did you have any particular mentor or anyone that you kind of modeled, or you say, okay, I'm gonna learn from this person? Was there any person like that on the tech side? Because I'm interested in tech as well. Yeah. I have no idea where to go to learn about it. Like, where did you go to? How did you learn about it?
So what I've realized is that the role that I tried to take on no one else has tried. No one that I know has tried. So basically what I mean by that is typically this is how it works. You're a professional athlete or professional musician. A business manager or money manager approaches you and says, hey, you want to invest some money in a new company called Twitter or Facebook or whatever? Okay, great. Give me $100,000. I'll invest it and I'll turn it into millions.
Right.
Great. That's fine.
That's fine. Right.
Which is amazing when you have money. But I said, but for me, I was like, no, that's not good enough for me. What I want to do is I want to be the creator,
right,
the
inventor other side, right,
of something.
Yeah.
And if I have the idea to do it and I understand the cool factor, what's going to bring the audience in, you should be able to invest in me. You know, like bring that money toward me, because we're not talking $100,000. We're talking millions and millions of dollars.
Right.
So I think for me, what I realized is I was kind of one of the only, like, that was actually trying to pursue and push my own idea and agenda and try to get as far as I could. Not necessarily the one and only Black man in technology, meaning the one and only artist that's coming from the world of music that has enough money to invest in anyone else, but I'd rather do it and bootstrap and invest in myself. So that's where I stand. There's not a lot of artists that we all have great ideas, and I've met some amazing people along the way. But when you start to think about technology and artistry, it's usually always only on the investment side. It's never on the let's be creative and create something side. So I'm hoping that I'm just kind of sparking a new generation of a person that pushes people to actually be on this side of the spectrum.
So for listeners who are not familiar, what was the app that you were wanted to get out there?
So the app at the time, it's actually called Creator. I'm wearing the hat. It's basically what I did was I created a mobile studio. So I allow anyone, no matter where they are in the world, to use their cell phone as a recording studio. The benefits of it would be a few things. So one is for people who can't afford to get in the traditional studio, download the app. It's free to download, use it to record. It's not the Hit Factory or professional studio like your background, but it will get you started and you could have fun and you could share it with your friends. And then the other side was to give them the ability to collaborate with, collaborate with producers all across the country. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to kind of just democratize the whole recording process by allowing anybody, no matter where they are, to experience what it is to be me or anyone in the music world. And in doing so, what it does is it creates this world where now I can become a discovery platform. So now I become like the digital American Idol.
Yeah.
And then with the connection that I've had in the music industry, asking people to come on board to judge the talent that they see on the app. I've been able, even just I was able to kind of discover a young man who was at one time utilized the app, and I was able to help him get a major label deal with a record label. So
fantastic idea. I said, because like you said, you mentioned the cost of studio. I had a friend who I went to kind of hang out in the studio. I had no idea how much it costs or how much money you spend in the studio. And we're there having fun, we're eating, hanging out. And when he told me how much that costs to hang out there, I was like, we would have to do this in one take. Everybody, you got to get the hell out. I said, because it's money. It's money. So I said, so you're having a creation that can help artists, and like, that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, man. I mean, and I think that's the issue. It's like me trying to cultivate a career from the beginning. I mean, you're talking about. I mean, yes, fortunate for me, I made it, as they would say. But if I didn't, you talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that would have taken just to even see if I had what it took. And I could imagine how many people out there that are stuck because they run out of money and they can't even record. So the app is called Creator App. We're iOS exclusive right now.
Nice.
Still working on a few kinks and bigger than the app, I think for me, is my ability to be vocal about what my mission is. And my mission is to get more brothers and sisters involved in technology.
Yeah.
from the communities that I come from, because we never aspire to be a technician or IT. We don't aspire to be coders. We aspire to be ball players,
Yeah.
rappers, entertainers,
Yeah.
movie stars.
Right.
So I kind of feel like I want to just add another genre to that equation.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
Yeah.
I said it now is as far as it seems to me that you're getting just as much or more, just talking to you, more enjoyment about the tech side of
Absolutely.
things than you did with the music.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've always been tech heavy. So my nickname back in the day used to be Microsoft Mims.
Oh, okay.
If my first ever endorsement came from Microsoft, we did a pretty great deal together on my first album. So I've always been into technology. I'm like that guy that has every single gadget. I mean, you see,
Yeah.
I got my turntables back here. If you could see my computer station on the other side. So I really enjoy what technology means to me as a person in the future. And I'm that guy that, screams out, hey Google or Alexa, turn on all my lights or
Yeah.
start my car or something like
Right.
that. So I mean, it is an amazing world, and then I get to go to these conventions and sometimes see the type of technology that's coming out in the future. Like I got to see a motorcycle that flies.
What?
I mean, yeah, they got a drone motorcycle that I think it's like $500,000 right now. You could actually buy one. But
Get out of here.
yeah. So
now it can like I said, I'm into that as well too. Is that something I guess anyone can go to? Like how does one go to those type of conventions? Because I think I read an article that you were in Forbes when you were launching the app. How does one go to those? How do you get involved in those conferences?
Yeah. So
do I have to have a hit record?
No, you don't. You don't. I mean, a lot of times I just attend as a fan, and honestly, there's so many conferences. So you realize that pre-quarantine, all the companies do them. So Apple does theirs in Silicon Valley every so often. Samsung will do an event. They have obviously TechCrunch, which is more tech oriented, technology oriented, but you will have a few gadgets. There's a big one in Dubai that I've gone to a couple of times. It's called GITEX. Okay. And it's basically the biggest technology convention you can imagine. You also have CES. CES goes on in Vegas. So anybody could attend CES. And that's like every January of the year. CES is happening. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that go. It's almost like, I always call it like the nerd factor for me.
Right.
That's my nerdy side.
Yeah.
So, you could imagine people who are into comic books, they go to Comic-Con.
That was me.
And so you understand. So those things exist, and anybody can go to them. So you could definitely go check them out.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like something I definitely would be
and comic books, by the way, if you got some stash, those things are worth a lot of money now. So
you know what? Yeah. It's funny you said that, because me and my brother were big comic book heads. I don't know if you remember the Punisher series. Punisher. So I have the very first one that's in a plastic wrapping with a cardboard backing that I have not opened. This thing is got to be like 32, 33 years old. And and it's worth money, but here's the problem. I went just for giggles. I went to a guy to see, if I could sell it to him. He wouldn't give me the book value of it. So even though it's worth the amount, he wouldn't give me the amount that I know that it was worth. So I was like, I still hold on to him.
He wants to make it big, but because of quarantine, sports cards, any collectibles, they're worth money. I mean,
look at Luka. Did you see Luka card just sold for like $4 million?
Crazy, yeah.
It was rookie card.
I'll be going to a convention. Oh, not a convention, but like a little card show in Miami in a couple of weeks. So I'll bring up the Punisher series you got and see what they say, man. It might be sitting on a few million. Who knows?
It could be. Yeah. I'll know what. I'll get rid of it too. I said, if these kids, expensive these kids are, I said, I'll definitely get rid of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. So, before we get on out of here, I said, I want to say I appreciate the conversation, and I have to say, and this is no knock on any rappers, but you're different. You and I appreciate that your mind of how, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who said this to you as well. But like I said, I like how you think, and I'm looking forward to see how you make that next big hit in the tech world. And if there's anything I can do to support, I got your back on that.
Ghost, man, I appreciate the platform, and honestly, this is what it's about, man. We just, we have to, everybody talks about making a difference, but sometimes you just gotta put your faith out there and put your money on the line, because I've done it so often, just to kind of be that difference. And I always say to myself, look, it may not work for me, right? So like the Creator app is an amazing idea, but apps come, they go, they hit or miss. But I think if I could spark the interest, someone maybe watching, says, "Yo, he did it. Okay, cool. I'm gonna try it out." And if they're the ones that do it, yo, I'm gonna applaud, because right now, like I said, I got motivated by being told no, and I got motivated because I know we've gotten investment, and I know people invested money, but the amount of noise that I had to make to get that investment doesn't equal up to what other people of other races have to do. And I think if we realize as a people, I don't want to always pull the race card, right? Because it's not, because I know some people out there say, well, it's not always about race, but here's the truth. We influence so much of this, everything. Right. I'm talking about everything from the sneaker culture to music, to movies, to entertainment, to, just anything, social media at this point in time. We need the biggest slice. This is the time that we need a bigger slice of the pie. Yeah. That's what it comes down.
And I can say, just from this conversation, I said, you motivated me to definitely, I'm putting it on my list, is my to-do, is to attend a tech conference. Like I said, never thought about it, but just from what you told me there, I said, it's definitely has inspired me to look into that. So start with, most of them are virtual now, but I would say start with CES, man. CES is probably the one that'll you'll be wowed, because there's some things that are coming that people don't realize, like this technology that right now there's the VR world is it was for a little while VR was like amazing, but there's a company called Virtuex who's actually, they're building, you ever seen Ready Player One? Like, it was a movie where the people would actually get into these machines. Oh yeah,
and they could run and move around. Well, that's coming. It's invented, and it'll be here, I would say, within a year. It should be here.
And that's what's nice about those tech things, is because for you know about stuff. Like, to me, if I was to see that would be like, well, what is this? Where you is like, man, I've seen this or the concept of it 2-3 years ago. So you kind of get the insight early.
They just released the world's first person view drone. So now you can actually buy a drone, you put the goggles on, and you can actually visibly see what up to 6 miles. You can fly your drone 6 miles away, and you can see exactly what it's seeing in the sky. So it's a lot of stuff that's gonna blow the world away, man.
Yeah, and also I'm sure you around that world probably sparks. You probably have hundreds of ideas that's probably in your head that's just kind of waiting to come out.
Absolutely. So hopefully, I don't want to be the evil empire, just create things to mix up the world, but I definitely want to add my sauce here and there, when the time comes. So invent something cool.
There you go, man. Appreciate it, man. So appreciate you coming on my platform here, and you definitely dropped some gems within the music business, and you definitely gave some really good insight on the tech world and what's going on. So I salute you, brother. Good luck. And I said, anything we can do to support you, definitely keep us posted. You always got a platform to talk about what you got going on.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
Yep. So that's our episode, folks. We are back next week. Big G will be back. My brother, I appreciate you.
Thank you.